Thank you. That was wonderful. We've got some questions, both from our live audience and from Twitter. So our first question was, you gave this great historical context. So why do you think it's so important to have this historical context? What's the point of it?
I've always go back to this concept that if you don't understand history, you're going to repeat things that were problems. What's also particularly interesting is, and I don't remember the terminology, but within the fishing industry, they developed a concept based on this understanding of where baselines are for the availability of cod or something. And one of the problems is you first come into an industry, you look at where things are now, and you don't understand necessarily where things were before. So your question is, are we maintaining, if the cod stocks are down to 20% of what they used to be, is your goal to keep them at 20%? Or should you try and bring it back to what it used to be back here? Eek. So within the sheltering world, I mean, one of the interesting things is I've presented some of these charts to people. I get people coming in and they're like, oh my God, there's a pet population problem. We're not solving it. Nothing's getting better. And it's like, damn, we're doing really good. In fact, I've told people other social movements ought to come to the sheltering world and find out what we're doing. Tell me anybody working with hunger, with disease in developing countries, how many of them have reduced their problem to 10% of what it used to be a generation ago? Look at the methods we've used in terms of outreach, utilization of science, utilization of public education to solve that problem.
It's musical microphones. What do you think is the biggest misconception about modern sheltering?
I think the biggest misconception about modern sheltering is that we solve all of our problems inside the walls of a shelter. What we need to do is reach out into our communities. We need to be more active touching. We did a research project that we just recently published in looking at the shelter intake in Washington, D.C. and in parts of New York City. We were targeting particularly large dogs. If you know sheltering at all right now, what you know is if you've got small dogs, the joke is no E below the knee. Nobody has to euthanize a dog who's that short. It's the big dogs we have problems with. So we wanted to find out where the big dogs are coming from and why. And what we found out is people are losing their homes or something. In a place like New York where it's hard to get an apartment to begin with, something happens, you're living on the edges. A lot of people, remember, they live paycheck to paycheck. Something happens, they need to go to a new apartment, they can't find a place. And we've seen this in San Francisco's got this problem as well and a lot of other places. And so the question here is, it's not if I run a cleaner shelter, it's not if I run a better adoption program. I need to figure out how to find more homes for people to go to. One of the things we found out is that there are places where if you actually front them the pet damage deposit, they have enough money to get an apartment, they can pay the rent, but they can't cover that damage deposit. So you know what, if I'm a shelter and I know it costs me $25 a day to keep a dog, it's cheaper for me to actually pay your pet deposit so I don't ever have to have your dog.
And just bringing it back to within the shelter, what would you say is one of the simplest things that a shelter can do to improve the well-being of their temporary visitors?
The thing that I've always considered is it takes a tough person to run a tender shelter. I think you need to be stringent on sanitation and those kinds of operations, but at the same time, I think the single most important thing is that animals in the shelter, every single one of them, should have a gentle hand on them every single day. That's one of the key things that needs to be done. I think it does something for the people working in the shelter, and I definitely think it's something that helps the animals in the shelter.
Well, that's a great tie-in also to our day 3. So we're going to leave it there for right now. Thank you so much, Dr. Z.